Right. So what we discussed in the last session about the account creation followed by the settings, because as in when I mentioned you being into the role of a business analyst, it's always important for us to make some configurations. Okay. Configuration. There are three things. There are two things majorly. One is configuration. Second is integration. Of course, this point I mentioned a couple of times earlier. Again, I'm repeating. When it comes to the application front, okay, not in the regular one, because when we are working on the application, two things. One is about integration. Second, one is configuration. Second is integration. Configuration is what configuration requirements will be identified by the BA, okay, because of multiple rules, etc. Integration will be taken care of by the technical team, means connecting to the external application. Let's say Salesforce CRM application, you are connecting with some payroll management, or you are connecting CRM application with some ERP systems. This is what we call it as integration. Okay, integration is different, configuration is different. So we being a business analyst, we will be focusing more on the configuration part. So as in when this is an application which is still intact, which is really, it is there. Now, if you want to configure something, as I already mentioned you, how to make some configurations in the fields in the last session I discussed with you. Even at the same time, user details, right? So even adding users, managing the users, all these things were learned so far. Now there will be another advanced setup or advanced settings which being a business analyst we have to be performed with. Here you can see open advanced setup where you want to make the application visible, right? So because there are different authentications and authorizations will be there, right? So multiple two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentications, all these things has to be done. But when it comes to the administration side, means as far as the role of a BA, whenever we are trying to understand about the administration, these are the list of custom fields which we have already created. You remember in the last sessions I discussed all that. Now, there are some activities as a BA you need to perform. One is about the user side. Okay, user side, user permissions. At the same time, creating a permission set groups. At the same time, creating profiles or public groups, or at the same time, rules. All these things we have to be taken care of. Point number one. Do remember again, as far as the role of an admin activity as a BA when you are doing. So we need to perform user permissions. Point number one, user related, okay, user permissions, etc. in detail. Okay, next relating to the data, because this is where generally data integration, data migrations and all everything comes into picture. Because if you remember when I started explaining about business analyst full stack, if you remember, there are multiple projects, there are different type of projects we will be having, something like regular projects, and some are migration projects. Migration means you're migrating from old legacy systems to the new application. Let me give you a scenario. For example, there is a retail outlet or some XYZ organization is using old CRM application. They are already using a CRM application for a very long time. Now, what we have to do from old CRM application to now, customers are expecting or customers are planning to develop a new Salesforce CRM application now as fresh. Okay, this is what we call it as migration projects. We call it as migration projects. So whenever we are working on this migration projects, there are some rules which we have to define, because when you have to migrate the application or a project, data has to be migrated. If you want to migrate the data, data integration is what something we have to do. How to integrate the data? How to integrate the data means the data which is already there in the CRM application might be in the old format. And now whatever the format are we using now might be something different, right? Either you can use XML or JSON and all that. At the same time, there must be some staging database which has to be created for the existing project. So for that, what are the different rules which we have to be performed is what something comes under data integration rules. Means whatever the integration rules you have to be performed, you need to set up. You need to create all the rules over here. Okay, so you have to create all the rules. what are the data integration rules and all, everything has to be updated. This is point number 2. Do remember again, I'm saying when it comes to the role of a BA, one is about the user side we need to focus more on. At the same time, data integration, because Salesforce application is being used for data integration only. Because let's organization is using Salesforce. Why are they using it? Because they were already using one application. Now they are transforming to Salesforce. So data has to be, because they cannot upload the data as fresh manually. Okay, because lot of huge data is being maintained in their systems, which has to be migrated properly. For that, generally, this data administration we have to do, this data integration rules, all these things we have to perform over here. Next, if there is any kind of email authentication or authorizations and all, to an extent possible, it is not relevant for you. For you, it is not required because advanced level, these are all comes under the advanced level of admin activity. Being a Salesforce admin, they will be doing it. But no, it's not comes under the role of a business analyst territory, okay? Because email configuration wherein you require some server permissions, right? Some DNS server permissions, right? All these things are needed. So email permissions or email configurations and all, it's not something which being a BAV will be performing, so that you just keep it aside, okay? But user and data, these are the two major things you have to know, and you will be doing in the coming these things and all, which I'm going to explain one by one, right? How to do all that. Next, platform tools. When it comes to the platform tools, application manager, because there are different applications we are going to manage, and how this application manages or how the new applications you are going to create. So because these are all the different applications you can see. Okay, for example, accounts is one application, right? At the same time, you have automation, right? So automation means flow of the process. Means if you want to initiate any kind of flow of the process, or if you want to make any kind of editing or something of that sort, this Lightning application experience or app manager, we will be using it. Next, for example, if you want to connect with an apps, like for example, authentication and authorization, this is what we call it as OAuth. OAuth stands for authentication and authorization. OAuth 2.2 nowadays people are using. How to manage this authentication and authorizations, but it is not needed because OAuth permissions, if you want to provide, you need to write down the OAuth clause and all, everything has to write. So that is not relevant for you. But app manager, yes, app manager, which you have to be known with under the platform and platform tools I'm talking about, app manager is required. Next, if there is any kind of features, right? For example, there are different features we have. For example, we want to create any kind of dashboard reports and all, everything we are creating now. If you are going to create dashboard reports, what is required? You need to access the policies. Okay, you need to create a policies, you need to access the policies and all that. So for that, generally identification verification is important because no one are authorized. Because if you remember when I explained about user permissions, I told you, if you are a user or if you are a standard user, you will be responsibility to use the application, not to manage the application for any reason. But whereas when it comes to the admin role itself is concerned, when it comes to the role of a business analyst itself is concerned, it's always important for us to understand about the policies. What are the new policies do we have, right? So all these things are comes under this category. Access policies, everything comes under this part. Because if you want to create any kind of reports or dashboards and all, everything that is needed. Next, if you want to make any kind of settings, right? So either you have to enable the user interface settings, or if you want to disable all that. So here we can see there are different enabilities we have. Like for example, if you want to create any kind of dashboard finders or something, because these are all something which was already existed. If you want to make use of to be enabled, we can do that. Otherwise, we can leave it. That's not an issue. Now, next one about the e-commerce part. E-commerce means like, because CRM have many dimensions. Because if you want to enable e-commerce applications, B2B applications or B2C applications and all, we can enable that. It is for the retailers and wholesalers, as I mentioned you, right? So if you want to enable e-commerce, you can enable it and you can save it. Okay, that is depends on, because some application for CRM they may be using for sales purpose, some may be for health cloud, some may be health cloud is a separate application in Salesforce we have. Health cloud is an application uses for patient tracking, right? So knowing about the patient satisfaction. For that purpose, generally health cloud application is being used in the healthcare industries. Because, for example, they were using already in patient management system, for example, right? So they were already using it. Now, what they want to do to have a better experience for the customers in terms of the satisfaction by providing in appointment, by creating an appointment with the doctors or something of that sort. It's important for them to connect with Health Cloud so that they will be knowing about the customer satisfaction levels, etc., and managing the customers will be more effective for them. So that's the reason why in Salesforce there is another module, a separate module called Health Cloud. They will be using it. Okay, that is different. Now, if you want to enable e-commerce and all, we can enable it, right? So this is one thing. Next, if you want to understand any kind of functionalities, means if you want to understand any kind of functionalities and all, everything needed. So functionalities are not relevant for you. So that I don't go into that. Next, marketing cloud, right? So when it comes to the marketing cloud and all everything, for example, if you want to manage any kind of lead assignment rules, because majorly role of a BA, we need to specify the rules, whatever the project rules and all everything we have to create. So on what basis project rules we are creating? Project rules we are creating based on the requirements you have gathered from the customer. For example, I want this workflow process must be processed in such a way. So for that, whatever the required rules to be created and whatever the required rules we have to be mentioned and all, here we need to mention the rule name. For example, configuration, right? Let's see. I'm just giving an example to you, right? So configuration is a rule wherein we are creating, right? So if you want to assign a rule for the configuration and all, how this has to be done, okay? How this has to be performed, right? So this is all something which we have to create, assignment rules and all everything. At the same time, if you want to make any kind of settings in the lead settings, which were already enabled, that we can do it. Okay, this is one thing. Next, when it comes to the sales point of view and all, these are the settings which are important. But end of the day, when it comes to the sales settings and all, account settings is important for a BA, not for the other ones. For meetings, it is not relevant for you. And sales process, sales engagement settings, it is not needed, right? So sales files here, asset files are important because if you want to manage any kind of asset files and all, so you have to make a list of all the asset files if there is any, right? So if you want to create any kind of asset files or something of that sort, we can create. That is something separate. Next, after that, there are Einstein analytics normally, because if you want to create any kind of Einstein platform for artificial intelligence, because this AI came in recently. Earlier, we don't have .ai because it was only considered as Einstein analytics. We call it as, we used to use it. But now even artificial intelligence came, right? So artificial intelligence AI key management is already added because this is a product. Okay, Salesforce is a product, CRM is a product. So whatever is required and whatever the changes needed for the particular product, and if there is any kind of new enhancements and all everything they wants to do, they will be doing it. Okay, this is a continuous process because this is a product must be there in the market for a long time, so that whatever the required new features to be added, right? So everything will be done by them accordingly. Next, process automation. Process automation is important because if you want to create any kind of flows or if you want to migrate any kind of flows, even this is also something which being into business analysis, we have to do it. Like this, there were many. So I'm going to start with the basics. Okay. First of all, we need to start. Do remember these are all the advanced administrative settings as a BA you are performing, okay? Because do remember, these are all based on the requirements you have gathered from the customer. Underline this point again, I'm repeating. Because you are not an admin role, right? So admin role will be focused more on the authentications, authorizations, integrations, creating some permissions for integrations by accessing their DNS server, right? So those external email setups, all these things will be done by the admin. But basic as well as some part of advanced setups, being a BA, you have to be done. You have to be performed. The reason I'll tell you, because see, Salesforce is not used by all the organizations. Point number one. Second, sometimes what is happening in reality nowadays, even Salesforce can be used even by mid-level companies, even startup companies also for their better usage. So in this regard, what is happening? This is reality. Okay. Whatever I'm saying is reality, right? So what is happening nowadays? Some companies, I'm not naming everyone, some companies are doing is they are appointing business analyst and they're expecting a business analyst has to be taken care of an admin role because again investing on a separate role for admin, right? So again managing them and all everything is an expensive thing for them. So startup companies, especially mid-level companies nowadays, because why we are talking about admin part or reason I'm saying this. Okay, so what organizations are doing is anyway, business analyst is only to gather the requirements, right? So once you have gathered the requirements on the application front, their job is nothing. Okay, what they are doing, they are assigning them to take care of all the setups, etc. That's the reason why these admin activities are becoming more important for a BA because they are the one who has gathered the requirements. If someone is doing the settings and all, there is a possibility of communication gap might be taken place. In spite of it, whoever has gathered the requirements, if they are managing or if they are integrating, then it will be more helpful. In this regard, especially startup companies and mid-level organizations are inviting business analysts to work on administration from the application configuration part. Is it clear? Understood, Bhavik and Garima?
Yes, sir.
Right? Right. So that's the reason why these are all settings are important, right? So these are all the different settings which are important for us when we are working on the application part. Now let's go for administration when it comes to the user side, right? So user side permission set groups, here it is, you can see. Because there were a lot many, right? So be patient to learn all that, okay? Which is very important because permissions or settings or configurations, these are all not something to make it simple. Of course, you are listening, but still I'm saying. Okay, but because there are a lot of permissions are there, a lot of rules you have to write, right? Roles you need to create some queues, right? So user management, lot many things are there. So that it takes time. So that please go ahead, please carry on. Okay, please. Right. So now, for example, now we have taken users under administration. I have taken an option for users. In this users here, you can see there are two things. One is about permission set groups and second is about permission sets. Right. So permission sets, right? So if you want to clone, for example, an e-commerce starter app is there, right? So wherein if you want to e-commerce starter app, which is to be cloned to the existing application, let's say Salesforce for sales or sales related stuff we are using. For example, I'll give you the scenario. So sales purpose we are using. So we wants to close whatever the requirements we have got. So that has to be nurtured and it has to be converted into sales closure. This is what something which we have to be performed as of now. Now, what we want to do, we want to clone this to an e-commerce startup, right? Or e-commerce application you want to connect with. So if you want to connect with some e-commerce application, because multiple applications use this, right? So it's not only about one sales application. They may be using some Salesforce application, even because retailing companies are required e-commerce and all. Even they need sales. So if they want to clone and all, so here you can see there is an option for cloning, right? So where this has to be enabled here. Okay, if you want to enable it, or you can enable it. Or else if you want to create any kind of new permission sets and all everything, we can create. Okay. So, but before that, we need to create permission set groups, right? So this is required. So permission set groups, there is an API which is already for a general users, which we have already created. Now, if you want to create a new permission set group, label name we are creating. Okay. So because already one already there, right? So one API name was already there. You can see, right? So general users we have already used and all. Okay. So now when it comes to the general users, customer side I am creating backend, right? So general users backend team. Okay. Uh, right. So backend team we are creating. Yeah, create, yeah, set group permission was created now. Okay, group was created. So if you want to edit any kind of properties over here and all everything, you can edit the properties, but editing properties I don't advise because we don't require all that. Okay, so permission set group is created. Already this is all not required. So already one set permission set group is created here. Now you are going for permission sets. So these are the different permission sets which was already there. Okay, so you can see over here. These are the different permission sets already which are available and which are now, right? So we have already there. Now what do you have to do? If, for example, if you want to create any new permission set, okay. For example, view name, uh, user control access. Okay, for example, this is what something which a view name, right, which is called user control access is what something which we have to perform it. Now, whenever you are creating a user control access here, so this user control access is a permission set we have created. So if you want to use user control access and all, for what purpose you want to clone it? For example, uh, and analytics not required. User doesn't need to for permissions and all. For example, sales engagement. Okay, sales engagement is what which you want to create with. Okay, which you want to clone it. Okay, so if you want to clone with user control access, okay, if you want to create sales engagement user, because user can be user control access is giving by even by the to the sales professionals also. So if you want to create any kind of set permission sets and all everything for them, we can clone it. Remaining things I'm not doing because these are all not related for user control access, because you are not the authentication pair anymore. You are not doing it. At the same time, you are not belongs to any these things like message integration users and all, right? So these are all not something comes under your territory. So you are comes under the sales engagement user. Hence, I have selected clone user as here. Okay. So permission set groups we have created already. A set group of permission was already created here, wherein here we have created one more user. One is a general user already there, and I have created one more. At the same time, even permission sets even created. We have created one more permission set for user control access we have created. These are all comes under the user side. Okay, do remember. Next, profile, right? So profile settings I'm talking about. So these are all the different profiles were there, right? Admin or standard users and all everything. So if you want to create any separate profile and all everything, we can create user profile. Right. So here, first of all, you need to identify the existing profile, right? So what was the existing profile and all, and profile name you have to exist. Okay. Solution manager is an existing profile. Right. So profile name is analyst. So analyst is a profile name wherein we have created for Salesforce analyst permission we have created. This is enough, right? So you don't require to all these things not required. These are all already there. Okay, so if you want to view any kind of users, right? So whoever the users you have and all everything, you can add the new users and you can work upon, right? So because analyst users may be different, right? So because you know already user creation and all everything, I have already shown you earlier. Okay, hence I'm not showing you in the before sessions. If you remember users accounts, right? So all these we have created, hence I'm not showing, but the same thing, the same way you have to follow here. It's so mailing address at the same time, approval settings, all this. So I'm not getting into it. Okay, that is required. Next, when it comes to the public groups, right? So permission set groups we have created. We have created a set group called team. At the same time, permission sets we have created, especially for user control access we have created. As an example, I'm taking. Next, profile. If you want to add any kind of profile and all everything, we can add the profiles, whatever is needed. So for the particular profiles and all everything we can create. At the same time, public groups, right? So if you want to create any kind of new public group as separate, we can create a new public group over here. For example, view name. Uh,
Raj, sir.
yeah, tell me.
So in profile, like
Hmm.
when we want to add the new user,
Hmm.
we have an option over there, right? In profiles.
Profile, yes. Hmm. New.
Yeah.
Here
So
you can see new.
okay.
Here
So
already created. One profile I've created. You can see here, analyst already created.
right,
Right?
right. So
Ah.
also, if we want to create new user,
Hmm.
right,
Hmm.
we have an
User
option
profile.
over there as well. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
User profile
Right.
option we have already new. Here you can see. I'll show you one more. For
Right.
example, analyst is a profile I have created. Okay.
Mhm, mhm,
Now I'm going for system administrator. I'm taking one more. Okay. One already
mhm,
created. One more I'm taking. Uh, System administrator profile name is admin. Okay. For example, admin. If you want to create, or you can, if you want to create any profile as separate, you can create, because it's already there, because we have already created an admin Salesforce admin profile we have created here.
mhm.
Yeah, tell me, what is your question?
Yeah. So like over here on the screen, we can see view user. When you press the view user,
Ah,
uh, not over there. Okay.
where?
After adding the profile,
Ah,
like the previous screen, like
okay,
on the
let me
yeah.
show you. Yeah, you tell me now. I'm opening it. Yeah, you tell me now.
Yes. So
Hmm.
view user. When you
Hmm.
click the view user,
Hmm.
yeah. So we got the option for the new user.
Ah,
So we have an option over here as well, right?
yes,
To
new
create a
user.
new user. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. Okay. Yes.
new
Okay.
user.
That's what I wanted to know.
Here,
Yeah.
because user information I already created, hence I'm not showing, because earlier I have created all the accounts, etc. So that's the
Okay.
reason. Or else I'll write down one more user, okay, so that you can
Oh, oh,
you'll have an idea. For
all
example,
right. Okay.
username, Sita, right? So last name you, okay, right? So L Sita, right? So yes, I've taken some email ID, something like some email ID and username. Username you can give, right? So you can give, and the company details, etc. Everything. Role not specified, because this is for the user perspective. So hence I am not creating any role as separate. For example, analyst, right? So profile is an analyst wherein I have created. So here you have to add these things and all. For example, flow user, right? So flow user at the same time. Yeah, only flow user I'm writing. I'm adding it. Okay. So mailing address, etc. Right. So everything will be there, and you can click on save. So automatically here it will be there. Already you will get the user and all that. So you have to add all the details and all. And I'm not adding all the details, because all the details, if you are adding, automatically you can save it, so that user adding will be done here. Understood? Clear to you, Bhavik? Listen.
Yes, sir.
Right? So
Yes.
user, because all these will be there, because it unnecessary time taking process. Simply you have to
Okay.
add all the details over here, right? So
Mm-hmm,
you need to give your email address, etc. Right? So of course I have
mm-hmm,
not given any email address. So if I
mm-hmm.
want to give, I can give, but user, how to create user is what something I'm explaining. So user
Got it.
creations, you can do it. That is of your
Got it.
listing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, follow all the right title, company, right? So all these details you can add it, because
Okay.
there is no name called Sita. That's the reason why I'm not adding any email here. Okay, right.
Mm-hmm,
So this is how generally user this thing setups and all everything we have to do whenever we are creating a profile. In that user we have to, right? So analyst is one user I have created, profile I have created. At the same time, I have created one my profile for admin also. Is it clear to you, Bhavik? Understood?
yes, sir.
Bhavik, right? You're clear?
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Yes,
Right.
clear.
So permission set groups we have to create, permission sets we have to create, profiles we have to create. Next, public groups means if you want to create any kind of public groups as separate, If you want to create any kind of new public groups and all everything, we can create the new public groups over here. Public view name. Right, so external viewer is a public group name we have created. Right, so here you need to specify the filtration criteria field. For example, group name equals to the value, right? For example, here you need to give the value, right? So if you are creating any kind of groups and all everything, you can create, okay? Group names, etc. Everything you can create, and you can visible to all users, right? So all these things we can do. But when it comes to the public groups and all, required time only public groups we create, because this access we are not giving to anyone from outside. Okay, do remember that when you are going to create a public group, do remember public group if you want to create, you must connect Salesforce application with some external users, then only you have to use it. Otherwise, no. Okay, otherwise, no. Otherwise, that's the reason why I'm not creating a public group. Because public group access won't be given, because data access will be there, right? So that's the reason why I have not given any public group access here. So if you want to create any kind of public group access and all everything, we can create, which is optional anyway. That will be there. Understood? Clear, right? So hence I am not creating a public group. Do remember, because if you want to create a public group, wherein you have to specify the filters criteria, because what are the different group filters do they have, right? So we have to create all these. If you want to create it, we have to provide permissions to them for the accessing of the application. Normally we don't do it, because it is only for the internal organization purposes only, the changes and all everything we are moving, and we are not giving any access for external users to use the application, because Salesforce application uses within the organization by the team. External users means, for example, any person wants to raise a request or something like some CRM, because it's a CRM application, they wants to raise a request for something or something of that sort. For that purpose, generally we have to use it. So for that, what is required? First of all, if you want to access the data, first of all, Salesforce has to be integrated. Integration permissions has to be given. Then public groups has to be created. Otherwise, we don't create the public groups for in general purpose. I hope you understood what I'm saying. Clear? Understood, Bhavik and Garima? Listening?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Next, at the same time, queues. Okay, queues is also there. Means if you want to create a new 1 minute. Right. So here already a queue is created. One queue called service case is a queue which is already created. So here you can see there are different view case is already, service case is created already. If you want to add any kind of members, or if you want to add any kind of users, we're already there. So you can add it. If you want, you can add it, because based on the viewers as well as the members, what we have created, you can see the list of the people. But as of now, service case is a queue, it is already there. Means if you want to create any additional queues apart, takes time, just 2 minutes. Right. Yeah. So if you want to add any kind of new queue and all everything, if you want to create, we can create here. Okay. Just wait for a moment, it will open. Here you can see as the one which I have already told you. Last time I have told you that the same way, because whenever you have created a public group, the same thing in the same way, it even for queues also that will be applied the same one. Has to open. Just a minute. Right. So here you can add the queues and all everything as public groups, etc. Those are all, these two are optional things, right? So I'm not adding it. Now this is roles. Because designation is different, role is different. Because designation can be of anything, but role can be specific. Okay, role can be specific to the particular thing. So role is different here. It takes time to open. Okay, just wait for me. Yeah, right. So here it is roles, right? So understanding different roles and all. If you want to set up any kind of roles and all everything, we can. For example, it's a product we are developing, product-based sample, right? So if you want to set up any kind of roles or something of that sort. Yeah. So if you want to add any kind of roles and all, because high organizational hierarchy I'm talking about. Okay, organizational hierarchy, uh, hierarchy of the distribution of work from to whom and all, right? So who is authorized, who is responsible. Okay, that part we have to keep, right? So label name, right? So project manager, right? So this role reports to, okay, role name displayed as reports. Right. So if you want to create a new role or something of that sort, you can create a new role as separate. And like this, if you want to create multiple roles, we can create multiple roles for the project. Means hierarchy, organizational hierarchy, we have to follow the same process, Bhavik, Garima, if you remember closely. So almost right from permission setting groups, it is easy for you, right? So whatever the process we are following, the same process will be applied even for others also, even for permission settings, even for profiles, even public groups, queues, roles, right? So the same process we are following even here. We are not following any separate process as separate. Okay, the same process we are following. So once this is how generally this project manager role we have created. Hmm. Hmm. Like this, if you want to add any kind of new roles, because new roles, any new roles, if you want to create, you can create new roles, right? That is of our choice. Next, user management, because user management means whoever the users I'm talking about, right? So if you want to user self deactive, right? So at the same time here, these two are disabled. Means if you want to enhance any personal information, it is disabled. If you want to enable, you can, because majorly this is majorly used for the security purpose, privacy purpose, I'm saying. Normally it must be in disabled mode, right? It shouldn't be in the enabled mode. Enabled mode means where you will be knowing about all the details of the data, personal information. Normally we don't enable that option. We will always disable it. At the same time, allow external users related stuff, disabled it is. It remains intact. Hide personal information, yes. So these are all common things, right? So these are all user management settings. We don't change all that because profile filtering, we enable it. Okay, restricting profile cloning and all, yes. If you want to enable it, you can enable it. It will enable it. Permission settings and all everything, admin has to be taken care of. Whoever is in the admin role and all, they have to be taken care of. That's the reason why we are enabling it. Remaining things, everything were disabled. Okay, you don't require to make any changes in the existing ones. Next one about the users. Here are all the users, right? So these are the different users. Already we have created user list, etc. in the previous classes, right? So how to create? So you can see all the users, whoever the users we have. So you can see all the list of users. And if you want to edit any users or else if you want to create or set any kind of password or something for them to access, okay, so we can do this. This is how generally the user permissions and user administrations, creating some permission set groups, at the same time creating profiles, or if there is any public groups, and public groups is optional. Again, I'm repeating because we don't create this for regular purpose unless there is no external integration done, then public groups we create. Otherwise, we don't give an access. Next, queues, roles, user management, and users. So these are the settings which we have to be performed under the admin part as a BA from the user perspective, because user permissions is what something. Next, about data migration part, exporting the data or data integration and all. This I'm going to discuss in the next session. Clear, Bhavik? Garima, listening?
Yes, sir.
Garima, are you there? I don't hear your voice at all.
Yes, sir, I'm listening.
Okay, right. So data integration part and data export integration and how to create data integration rules, all that. So that I'm going to discuss in the next session. Okay then. Right, Bhavik? Right, Garima?
Yes, sir.
No problem. Yeah. Okay, sir.
Well said. Have a good day.